that is Las Tumbas, that is written by an Argentinian author, Enrique Medina. And it's about the story of an 8 or 9-year-old child that is left at a juvie, at this juvenile detention center, by his own mother, because their family is so poor, is a single mother, that she cannot take care of it. It's like, it was like some sort of childcare.
Yeah.
Not because people felt it like childcare, because really they just couldn't take care of the children, so they might as well left it at juvie. So this novel is from the 70s, and it was actually prohibited in the 70s during the dictatorship.
Yeah.
Because I never finished this novel, because there is just so much physical and sexual abuse between, the own children that are in the institution and the people that are the staff, that I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Really, my dad's good intention was for me to know how was the reality of those states' institutions. That's why it was prohibited, because the military dictator didn't want people to know that those places that were meant to reform children were actually places where they would be systematically abused.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he spent 3 years in juvenile in La Colonia Marcos Paz. And we don't have many details of how he went through there. We only know that he learned to read and write a little bit. And it was in 1911, presumably by his own family petition, that he was set free again, which is really makes me think, what was the system? Because they would take him to police, and then they would ask again for him to be released. So,
well, I mean, I guess we don't know what the actual
how it really worked.
Yeah, well, did they want him as an extra worker for the family to bring? He was becoming old enough to hold down a job and contribute to the family's upkeep. Or did they just genuinely miss their son? Were they? I'm not sure. If they visited him often, or whether they were genuinely missed him and just wanted to have the family member back, or whether the community, was starting to ask questions, and it was a point of familial pride. Or,
There is, I was checking a documentary of a famous journalist of Argentina. That's not my favorite, because he's kind of a right-wing conservatory tendencies, but he had a lot of information in his documentary. And it seems like Cayetano was, he had an interview with the staff during his time in juvie. And he actually said that the first time he was ever happy there was one Christmas, in which he was let go of the colony, of the colonia, to see his family. And that was the only time he was happy in his life so far. So, yeah, there might be a chance that in the way that they knew how to love people, that they might actually miss him, because after he was set loose, he went back to live with his family, but he could never hold a job after that, like even doing labor, working in farms, taking care of animals. I guess that.
Yeah, from what I read, he was just an unsuitable worker, and
he was also drunk when he was set loose, so he was an early adolescent, 15-year-old, and he already took the habit of drinking, well, the same as his whole family, to be realistic. Yeah.
And also, access to alcohol, wasn't as well monitored then as it is today, if at all, where you could. I'm sure there were laws, but prohibiting minors drinking, but whether they are actually adhered to at all, or, a minor was, the term was a little bit different than it is today. I think, responsibility was foisted on people a lot earlier.
We don't know if his own dad gave him alcohol. It is said on one source I had that when he was 12 or 13 he started to suffer from migraines, and on a different source that is from a famous criminologist of Argentina that is quite an authority, Osvaldo Raffo, it says that he would fake having seizures because his older brother had seizures, and that he would fake them. So we don't know if he was actually suffering from migraines, so maybe he would take alcohol for that, or that he was given alcohol, or that he would fake them to get out of his way. Mm-hmm. So there's a good chance that maybe he could drink alcohol in his whole house, his own house.
Yeah. Well, it's something obviously that he grew up with, which would have completely normalized it.
Sure thing.
And I think it was quite widespread, the use of alcohol as an antidepressant to temporarily escape from the daily grind, as it still is today. And he just may have started using it as he may have started using it for that purpose,
coping
at an earlier age than a lot of people do nowadays. Although that's not to say they don't.
Well, in general, in this middle class privileged society that some of us grew up, unfortunately, I'm not complaining about that right now. So, 1912 is the year his crime spree takes place. On January, he set fire to a warehouse on Corrientes Street, and when he was arrested, he told to the cops the following, quote, "I like to see firemen working. It's nice to see how they fall into the fire." End of quote. So we're adding arson to his many hobbies, including killing little animals. Mm-hmm. So any true crime or psychology fanatic or aficionado or professional is probably going to find this very familiar, because those are two of the elements of the very famous McDonald trial. Mm-hmm. Triad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
That's it. On January as well, the body of a 13-year-old Arturo La Aurora was found on a house that was for rent. He was half naked from the waist down, and he had been strangled to death with a string. On March the 7th, Cayetano set fire to the dress of a girl, 5-year-old girl, Reina Bonita Vainikov. That seems like he came from a Russian family. Mm-hmm. And that she agonized for 16 days before she died in a hospital. During November, Cayetano attacked 3 children, but they all managed to survive. He attempted to strangle Roberto Russo, that was 2 years old, in a barn. But he was caught by a laborer and he's taken to the police. But he was released since the police didn't have many proof that he was intentionally trying to kill the child. This is the case in which he lied. I mean, he said that he wasn't strangling the child, that he was trying to untangle him, and that he was trying to save him. Mm-hmm. Second attempted victim was Carmen Gitone, a 3-year-old child. And then Catalina Nahueler, also 3-year-old child that he tried to take to an alley. He bought some candies. He tried to give them to the child to get her to follow him. but she didn't. She tried to run away, and that's when he had a fist of rage and hit her. He was caught again by a neighbor, and he was set loose once again.
He seems to, well, he really focuses on young children. I mean, again, there's a lot to be unraveled there. Provided, just trying to understand his mental state. Is he choosing young children because they are convenient and unable to communicate? They're
unable to fight.
Are they just an easy
target
also? And an effectively defenseless target? Or has he got another form of logic at work that they make unreliable witnesses because they are unable to communicate?
And there were lots of, after all, people didn't have the same methods of preventing pregnancies, so I reckon he had plenty of prey for him.
And that's true. A lot of young children left barely supervised, wandering around the neighborhood. And again, neighborhoods were fairly convivial places, and still are, and everyone knew everyone, and it wouldn't be unusual for you to talk to someone who you knew from the street, and if able to offer them candy, they were someone you could, in theory, trust because they were local, and someone local would never hurt you. So,
and he looked younger than his age.
That's true. He was incredibly short for his age, and
1.5 meters.
Yep.
I would say, shorter than me. And he was 16 at that time, so he didn't have the body of an adolescent. And some people may argue, if given the chance to look at a picture of him, that he would look, quote unquote, and I don't mean to be offensive but saying this, but some people would say that he looked retarded or like an idiot, which is a medical term of that time for mentally challenged people. So maybe that's how he got his way with hanging around with children. Like, people might see him like, oh, that idiot child that is an adolescent but doesn't behave like an adolescent. So we got to his last victim, his better or well-known victim, and some may say that his only true victim. That's an interesting point that I never thought about. But so we have Gesualdo Giordano. In some newspapers of that time, his name is spelled as Gerardo, because it seems like Gerardo is more Spanish-like and not so Italian-like. But Gesualdo was a 3-year-old child that was actually neighbor with the family of Cayetano. He found Gesualdo in his house sidewalk, and he told him that he would buy him some candy if he followed him. So Cayetano took the child to a shop. They bought some candy from another younger, and it's when he finally managed to get him to an open alley. He tried to strangle him with a rope, but it seems like he failed to kill him. Although in the autopsy it's written that he gave 13 rounds,
punches.
No, like he took the rope and gave it 13.
Wrapped around 13 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the neck of the child. So after the strangulation, he would later claim that he felt thirsty. He went out of the alley to look for another instrument to kill the child. And Cayetano found himself with the father of Gesualdo. The father asked him if he had seen the child, and he said, know that he hadn't seen him, and he actually suggested